What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday here. Saturdays, crypto, usually not too much happening, but today where we actually see some interesting price action, maybe. Okay, I'm going to point out some possible patterns that Bitcoin could be doing and altcoin setups, some pretty big altcoin setups later in the video. So make sure you guys are staying for that. Of course, I'm going to be pointing out my daily routine on how to stay ahead of this crypto market and make winning trades. I'm also going to be pointing out some common traps that beginners fall into and lose money, speaking from personal experience and how I have actually learned my lesson and actually continue to improve upon my strategy to make more winning trades. So you guys want to make sure to stay around for that. It's going to be a full video today. Now, if you guys have not been to my channel before, you guys got to know that in this channel, I dive deep into the charts, find moves before they actually happen because let's face it, it's a lot less riskier than chasing pumping green candles. The only thing riskier than chasing a pumping green candle is shorting a huge big fat red candle, okay? Now, I will also be taking technical requests, technical analysis requests for any altcoins, any markets, any coins. Just drop your comment in the section. Drop your comment in the comment section below. I will choose one technical analysis request to do for you guys every day. So make sure you guys drop one and stay tuned for that. Now, we don't have any technical analysis requests today, but I will be doing some pretty interesting big altcoin setups because I really think that altcoin season is coming very soon. Okay, Bitcoin breaking above the daily 200, that is just the start. Total 3, Ethereum is still far from daily 200, okay? So, gonna be looking out for that. I think it's gonna get pretty exciting. Let's take a look into Bitcoin hourly time frame here. Yesterday, I talked about a breakout of a cup and handle pattern. Price target out of that cup and handle pattern, I think it was about 98,000. However, that breakout did get invalidated as we start seeing price action breaking back into the pattern and very particularly on the hourly time frame. I think the neckline of that cup and handle was about 95, very close. It's not uncommon to see, cup and handles break out and then they kind of turn into a rising channel or a bear flag. Okay, especially if you see weakness in the RSI, which I did point out yesterday. However, Bitcoin this time was not able to invalidate that weakness. It has been for the past couple of candles, namely on I think 12-hour, right? As you guys can see, there was bearish divergence. However, green candles kept printing, but not this time. Okay. However, we still have a higher low on the 12-hour time frame. I actually just entered an altcoin position, a leverage altcoin position. That's just me personally, not financial advice. Based on this higher low idea. Okay. Um. Now, of course, I personally like going in at a higher low, and that gives me a huge edge. In my opinion, when I actually get a good entry point, right? But how you manage the position afterwards, like where you're going to take profits, where you're going to put a stop loss, that also that's the other half of the game, right? But if you actually get a good entry right, that gives you a huge lead, right? Over any losses, right? So I put in a long position for Algorand just earlier based on this higher low idea of Bitcoin. That's because Bitcoin drives the entire crypto markets, the altcoins. So if Bitcoin looks good, that's I would say that's like 70% of the game. Okay, and then I would probably look at altcoin setups. Right, but I definitely look at Bitcoin first before entering into any positions. Right, that is something I did not know before, especially when I first started trading. And, when I started trading more shorter term time frames, that's when I actually learned, more about how to develop a winning strategy, right? So I like entering on higher lows. I don't like entering on higher highs because that's riskier because, chances are that could come back down and you're gonna waste your time just waiting for it to go back up. And time is very important in the markets. So let's take a look into daily time frame. We are still very much above that daily 200 SMA, which is looking great, okay? Because that's basically the divide between a bull market and a bear market, and Bitcoin is got a very solid candle above that daily 200. So that means a lot, okay? Even though we might see some short-term fluctuations. Now, let's also talk about this bear flag here, okay? We have a bear flag here, so that usually breaks to the downside, right? You basically take the opening of the pattern and then you put it, near a potential breakout point, breakdown point. And in this case, I'm just going to hypothetically put it here, right? And we get about 91,000, okay? If it breaks out later, then it's going to give you a higher price target. Price targets are estimates only. It could be more or less, but it still gives you a very good idea of what could be happening in order to close or open positions, right? If that's what you wish to do. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing for Bitcoin right now. On all the other time frames, it still looks pretty good to me. Now we are at the 3-day 50 SMA, which is the gray line here, at about 93,000 weekly time frame. Weekly 21 SMA, also at about 93,000. Let's see where the price action actually closes tomorrow at the weekly candle close. That's very important. Now Bitcoin, one more thing here, did break out of this double bottom pattern as I've talked about, right? Price target is going to be about 104,000, right? This could be seen very noticeably on the 3-day time frame, okay? With this double bottom pattern. I usually like looking for reversal patterns to get an idea on where to actually enter, right? And supported by divergence, that's even better, right? On the RSI, that is one simple but very effective indicator that I use, and it has given me some very good trades. Let's take a look into the altcoin markets. Ethereum, it's still lagging behind. Both Total 3 and Bitcoin is still at the daily 50 SMA with the daily 200 SMA very far away, okay, at 2750, okay? Could Ethereum actually get a huge pump to catch up, right? Because it's very much lagging behind. Now, it did break out of this huge downtrend here that has been forming since end of January, a falling wedge, and the price target out of this pattern is about 2,900. Okay, now if Bitcoin can actually stay above the daily 200 SMA, go towards that 104k price target, I don't see why not that Ethereum can actually catch up. Okay, given that Bitcoin doesn't dump, right? Because everything still relies on Bitcoin here. Total 3, it is actually above the daily 50 SMA, the gray line. Very close to the daily 200 SMA, the orange line, about 850 billion market cap. Okay. Once it gets above that, in my opinion, then altcoin season is confirmed, right? If we get a solid candle above the daily 200, and if Bitcoin is actually able to stay above the daily 200, which looks very much like it will, then I don't see why this could not happen, okay? Price target out of this huge downtrend as well that has been forming since the end of January is about a little under 1.1 trillion, which could pump some of these smaller altcoins like crazy. Okay, if you guys seen the past couple of days, especially on Coinbase, you guys would know what I'm talking about. But I don't think this altcoin season has even started because Altcoins still are not even above the daily 200. Okay, let's take a look into the monthly time frame, which is also very interesting. Right, I pointed out this in shorts yesterday. Is that look at where we are in the RSI, right? We are, not even in overbought territory. If we were to use the cycle back in 2020, 2021 as a comparison, I mean, we're nowhere near that, right? I mean, that tells me, if we were to get anything like 2020, 2021, we have not even gotten started, and we have a pretty long uh, altcoin season ahead of us. That is, of course, if we get anything like 2020, 2021, it could, still be cut short, but at least we have some type of reference, right, on how risky things are according to the RSI. Okay, the more overbought it is, the more risky. Right now, I don't think it's risky at all because we're not even in overbought territory, right? And we have actually pulled back quite significantly over the past few months. Let's take a look into stock market. Very important um, because it's highly correlated with Bitcoin, which drives the crypto markets and stock markets could serve as a very good front-running signal for the Bitcoin markets. And on the weekly time frame, it looks great, right? Just look at this; it bounced off the 4,800 level, which was the breakout point of this huge cup and handle on this weekly time frame. And basically, it's going to retest some of these moving averages on the daily time frame, right? It's still underneath the daily 200. So in my opinion, Bitcoin is actually leading ahead of altcoins and S&P 500 mini futures. Okay, let's take a look into some top 100 altcoins. Okay, and see. I'm still working on this list here, and we can revisit this list. Right. Let's take a look into some setups for some altcoins here. Right. Ethereum Classic. Just breaking out of this huge downtrend as well. You'll see quite a bit of similar patterns. Just because a lot of these patterns are going to follow Bitcoin, right? Now, if we want to take a conservative target, because I'm not counting that huge wick there, price target out of this Ethereum Classic breakout here is going to give me about almost $30. Okay, that's on the weekly time frame, falling wedge, right? Falling wedge pattern, price target just right underneath $30. Okay, Ethereum Classic, Doge USD. Now, I do like trading some of these bigger altcoins, especially on leverage, right? I don't recommend using leverage unless you actually have had some success in spot trading, right? Because it could get pretty risky, and you're gonna have to do quite a bit more risk management. But that is just me. That's me personally. I'm just talking about how I see the markets, not financial advice, of course. I am not a financial advisor. Now, let's take a look into Dogecoin, okay? Where this price action could be heading. Very similar pattern, let me see if this is still a falling wedge pattern within the pattern. Yep, this is, I think this is still very much within the pattern here. Yep, I would still say this is very much still within the pattern. So Doge still hasn't even broken out. A lot of let's see here. Let's take a look into the price target here. Got one swing, two swing. It's very close to the weekly 200 as support. Let's just say if it breaks out on the week of May 5th, that will give you a price target of about 51 cents. Dogecoin, I mean, that's still a pretty huge breakout price target. Okay, let's take a look into some more. Bonk USD, right? This looks like it has actually broken out of a trend. Now, a lot of times, you will see a breakout of a falling wedge pattern, especially out of like, a huge consolidation market or a bear market. That it might take a while for even a couple of weeks here for the price action to react to the breakout. Like it might creep out of a breakout and then you see a more sustained price action like we're seeing on this weekly candle here. Now, one thing I don't like that I find would be a losing strategy for trading would be, if we actually bought anywhere close to where the price action is right now because of just how close to the resistance. I'm not saying it's always going to be a loss, right? But chances are odds are against you when you buy near a resistance. Okay, I like buying near supports. That's a lot less riskier, even if the support breaks at times. And then I will come back to actually update the charts and see what I would do from there, right? Um, so this is not anywhere near. I mean, this is it's very close to resistance. With the resistance as downward sloping as well, that means uh, it's likely to actually take a pullback. Okay, now what I personally like to do is I like to look for setups like double bottoms, right? I usually like buying at the second bottom. It'll be even better if I see divergence with the double bottom, right? That usually would tell me that it's gonna more likely reverse, right, and get a bounce. Um, so that is something that I usually like to do, and it has actually, I actually made quite a bit of winning trades based on that idea, and it's low risk. Of course, if that double bottom continues to break, then I will have to evaluate, right? Because it could happen, and it has happened quite a bit as well. I'm just saying it's lower risk. Let's take a look into WorldCoin, okay, WLD. So this is a double bottom. It looks like a double bottom that actually continue breaking to the downside. So like I said, it could happen. Um, so definitely keep an eye out on that if that is something that you guys potentially want to trade, right? Now, excuse me. This looks like it has already broken out of a falling wedge pattern couple weeks back, and it hasn't really done too much, but it is close to a resistance, right? It has actually broken out, right? This is not a setup I would usually get into, right? Because it looks pretty far from a support, at least on the weekly time frame. I could reevaluate on just the lower time frames and see if I can take any short targets, right? But on the weekly time frame, it doesn't look too good because it's just way too far from the support. You can zoom in and see if there's a higher low somewhere that I would personally get in, right? And if there's a lot of target left in the setup, then that's what I will also take into consideration. But I definitely would not buy anywhere near a resistance, especially a huge resistance, right? So I think this basically wraps my video for today. Let me know if you guys have any technical analysis requests in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time and have a beautiful day.